some people wear black tourmaline jewelry and report feeling heavy or drained. And this is my theory on why. If you're wearing the stone constantly, but you're never intentionally discharging that energy, and you're never intentionally touching earth, you're never doing any grounding practices, you're never completing the energetic circuit, it's like wearing a tool without even knowing how to use it properly.
Welcome to the Crystal Library, a pocket-sized portal into the magical, mysterious, and sometimes misunderstood world of crystals. I'm your host, Ashleigh, and each week I'll guide you as we explore one enchanting stone, its history, lore, healing properties, and one easy way to invite its magic into your everyday life. Whether you're crystal curious or deep into the woo, this is your space to learn, explore, and expand your connection to the mineral realm, one glittering gem at a time. So let's open the library and see which crystal wants to speak today.
Welcome back to Build Crystal Energy, the Crystal Library series. I'm Ashleigh, and last week at this time, I was at a vampire ball in New Orleans, and this week, I am here in my home office / guest room / podcast room / room full of crap. But at least I'm wearing my vampire lipstick. This is a gorgeous Revlon navy blue lipstick. My kids hate it, and honestly, it is kind of ugly, but I thought that it would be the perfect lipstick to wear for the stone that I am talking about today. So today we're talking about a stone that everybody that knows anything about crystals thinks they know about. Okay, this is a pretty common stone. If you've been in the crystal world for more than 5 minutes, you've heard that black tourmaline, that's what we're talking about today, is a stone for protection and grounding. And while that's not wrong, it's also not the full story, because today I want to talk to you about what if black tourmaline doesn't actually protect you at all? What if seeking constant protection is actually keeping you small, scared, and disconnected from your own power? So today we're going to completely reframe how you think about this stone and maybe how you think about safety itself. So whether you're brand new to black tourmaline or you've been working with it for years, I promise you're going to walk away from this episode seeing it and maybe yourself differently. So let's dive in. Okay, first and foremost, this is for the science nerds. This is where we get to geek out a little bit, because black tourmaline, also called schorl, isn't just a metaphysically interesting stone. It's very scientifically fascinating. Black tourmaline is piezoelectric and pyroelectric. These are physics terms. What this means is that when you apply pressure to black tourmaline, or when you heat it, it generates an electrical charge. And this is something that can be measurable by science. Okay, so it's really hard to see in this video, but on your black tourmaline, you'll see these vertical striations that are running down the stone. Those gorgeous lines that make it look like, I don't know, to me, I think that black tourmaline looks like petrified wood. Or some kind of like ancient root. Those exist because of how the crystal structure forms. They align with what's called the C-axis of the crystal. Now, here is where I'm going to offer you an interpretation of the stone based on the physical properties. I think of black tourmaline not as a stone that absorbs energy, but as one that conducts it. So think about a lightning rod. A lightning rod doesn't hold on to energy. It directs it safely into the ground. Based on tourmaline's piezoelectric properties, the fact that it generates electrical charge under pressure, I work with it in the same way, as something that conducts and directs energy downward and outward. This is why, in my practice, I personally don't cleanse black tourmaline as often as other stones. And I'm not saying it doesn't hold on to the energy. I'm just working with it as if it's discharging this energy constantly. So for me, it feels like it needs less cleansing because the energy is literally diffusing out of it all the time. That is just my personal practice. The iron content in it is what it makes it black. And iron is magnetic, grounding. It's connected to our blood. We have iron in our blood. And it's also very connected to the earth's core. This is a very deeply physical stone. And here's a metaphor that I think is interesting. Black tourmaline looks like petrified lightning, like a fossilized root, like something ancient that has survived everything. You'll also see specimens where other crystals, such as quartz, mica, or other minerals, are growing from or alongside the black tourmaline. And in this video, you can see that this piece that I have here, you have the black tourmaline, and then on growing out of the top here, you have what looks like quartz with little bits of, I'm not sure. Let's see here. Do I have the little, no, I had a little label for this particular piece, but I don't know where it is. Anyway, but you can see that it has the quartz growing directly from it. So it looks like a little log with the quartz growing out of it, which I think is really cool. And that's why I was like very attracted to this piece when I first saw it. So the black tourmaline acts as the foundation stone, and then that's the base that the other minerals build on. And whether that's just geology or whether that's telling us something about its energetic properties, that's up for you. That's up for you to decide. So black tourmaline, it's found all over the world. You can find it in Brazil, Pakistan, the US, Madagascar, Africa, which also tells us something. It's not a rare stone. It's not precious in the monetary sense, but it is accessible. And I also think that grounding should be accessible too. And here's what we know about how it forms geologically. Black tourmaline crystallizes from the final stages of cooling magma, or it forms in metamorphic rocks that have been transformed under extreme heat and pressure. It does not form in easy conditions. And here's what I take from that. Maybe that's exactly why it's so good at helping us handle pressure, because it's been there. It was forged in the intensity and it became pretty much unshakable because of that. Now I'm going to tell you something that might surprise you. For centuries, black tourmaline was considered relatively worthless by miners and gem traders. Miners called it schorl, which was a term that essentially meant that it wasn't what they were looking for. When they were mining for valuable metals and gems, black tourmaline was common and it was abundant and not particularly monetarily valuable. The stone that we now recognize for grounding and foundation work was historically dismissed because it had no monetary value. It wasn't pretty enough by conventional standards. It wasn't rare enough. It was just there, doing its work, unappreciated, essentially. Does that sound familiar? How many of us dismiss our own foundation, our own stability, the actual solid ground we're standing on because it's not flashy or Instagram worthy? The name tourmaline comes from tourmaline, traditionally attributed to Sinhalese origin, meaning stone of mixed colors, because tourmaline comes in every color of the rainbow, but black tourmaline was so common it was just called schorl, or the basic one, the plain one. And maybe that's why it works. It's not trying to be this super special stone. It just is. It just is special, and it's deeply special, and it's consistent, and it's unshakable. Now, throughout history, various cultures have recognized the properties of dark grounding stones. While specific practices varied widely across traditions, and I don't want to generalize or appropriate specific cultural practices that I'm not part of, but we do know that grounding stones have been valued across many spiritual and healing traditions worldwide. There's also a fascinating bit of history. In the 1700s, there are accounts of tourmaline being used for its electrical properties. When heated, it becomes electrically charged and attracts light particles like ash. People were working with its piezoelectric properties even before they had the scientific language for it. They understood the physics through observing it. And what I find beautiful about this is that the science and the spiritual use aren't all that separate, and they never have been. Okay, so let's get uncomfortable for a moment. This is where I'm going to share a perspective that might challenge what you've heard about Black Tourmaline. This is my interpretation based on taking the time to look at the stone from different perspectives. When we're constantly seeking protection, what are we actually saying? We're operating from a belief system that says, I am unsafe. The world is dangerous. I am vulnerable to external forces. I need something outside myself to keep me safe. And I want to offer you a different perspective, not as an absolute truth, but as a reframe that might be useful. What if you're not unsafe? What if you're just ungrounded? Here's what I've observed. When someone is ungrounded, other people's emotions feel like attacks. Change feels threatening. The nervous system gets stuck in hypervigilance. They're living in their head, completely disconnected from their body. They seek protection because they've energetically abandoned themselves. So here's what I've come to understand about Black Tourmaline. Black Tourmaline doesn't protect you. What it does is it grounds you so deeply into your body, into the present moment, into the earth itself, that you remember you are already safe. Protection is a shield. It keeps things out. And grounding is a root system. It keeps you anchored while you grow. One is defensive, the other is foundational. And here's what I found in my practice. When you're deeply grounded, when you're fully in your body, when you're connected to the earth, you don't need protection in the same way because you're not operating from fear anymore. You're operating from presence. You can feel when something isn't yours. You can let it move through. You can return to your own frequency. That's not really protection. That's power. Now, you might have a completely different experience with Black Tourmaline. You might work with it as protection and find that very supportive for you. I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong in any way. I mean, you're not. I'm just here to offer another lens, another perspective that might deepen your relationship with this stone. So who is Black Tourmaline really for? The person in major transition, moving, career change, relationship ending, identity shift. When everything is uncertain and the ground feels like it's disappearing beneath you, Black Tourmaline says, you still have a foundation. You are still rooted, even when everything else is changing. This stone is also for the empath who gets lost in other people. It helps you to not block people out, but to discharge their energy so you can return to your frequency, so you can feel where you end and they begin. It's for the shadow worker. When you're facing your deepest wounds, your darkest patterns, the parts of yourself that you've been avoiding, you need to stay present. You need to stay in your body. And Black Tourmaline holds your hand all the way down into the underworld and makes sure you don't dissociate. It's also for the spiritual practitioner who gets too far up and out. I mean, we've all seen these people, right? The ones who meditate for hours and, but they can't pay their bills. The one who channels, but isn't really very great at having a conversation. There's the person who's so connected to spirit, they've forgotten they're a human, honestly. I mean, we see these people all the time, right? at different fairs, different places. They're the people that are just so out there. Black tourmaline is kind of like your tether back to earth, back to your body, back to, you. This is a stone for people doing the work and not just people avoiding it. So I want to share my personal story when it comes to Black Tourmaline and how it really shifted something for me. So this particular piece is my favorite piece of Black Tourmaline from my friend Christian. Hey, Christian. He owns Hot Spells in Los Angeles. He's been on the podcast in the past. He's a great guy, and his shop is amazing. So if you're in LA, you have to go see him at Hot Spells. At the time when I had just finished having him on the podcast, I had just started. I was like, that was a time when I was kind of in a major transition with the podcast, right? So initially when I started this podcast, I was mostly I was really the whole first, I would say, year, I was just doing solo episodes. It was just me, the microphone. It felt safe. I only had to put myself out there so much. But I knew that I wanted to expand the podcast. I wanted to start interviewing guests, but that scared me so much because, as many of you know, I work as a medical provider. So at work, I am, I'm used to interviewing my patients, of course, taking their medical histories, asking about their symptoms, but I had never actually interviewed anyone before. So, and that's a very different kind of interview and a very different kind of conversation than a podcast interview, right? So I was in LA and I was wanting to meet Christian in person. So I was at Hot Spells and I was just, browsing through his collection, trying to ground myself in this overwhelming feeling of transition. And this piece of Black Tourmaline, it wasn't the biggest, flashiest piece that was there, but it spoke to me in a way that I can't really explain. This shop has so many gorgeous stones and crystals. And I mean, at the time I was like, why do I keep going back to this piece of Black Tourmaline? Why? There's so many other amazing options. But when I held it, I just felt anchored and I felt like the stone was meant for me. And I felt like I could build upon it and build upon having this feeling in my body with things that I already knew I needed just to trust. So I realized shortly thereafter that I already do know how to interview. I already know how to listen. I already know how to ask questions that matter. I've been doing it for years with my patients, so I shouldn't discount that. The context, of course, is different, but the skills ultimately are the same, and they are and were already there. So Black Tourmaline, it didn't really give me new abilities. It just grounded me into the ones that I already had. It didn't shield me from the fear of doing something new. It rooted me deeply enough to walk into it anyway. And that's what I understood. The stone isn't about protection. It's about trust. It's about remembering. It's about coming home to yourself. So that's my little personal story about this stone. Black tourmaline comes in many different forms. Which form would be best for you? So I think the form you're drawn to usually tells you something about what you need. I personally love the raw pieces, the rough kind of matte black, unpolished with the striations. And I think that this is the most grounding. It's kind of the most raw earth type of energy. This is for placing in your space, holding during meditation, using it for rituals. And I have a ritual that I'm going to share with you a little later in the episode. This is the stone's representation of you, unpolished, unperformed, just existing in your day-to-day life. It also comes in polished or tumbled stones, which are smooth and shiny and palm size. They have a more gentle energy. They're easier for beginners, maybe. They're great for carrying in your pocket. Like this particular piece, this is not a great pocket piece. Number one, it's kind of big. It's got lots of different little edges to it. So it would likely get all scratched up. You could damage it. So, this isn't really great for your pocket. And with the polished stones, sometimes you need for the way that you're working with the stone to be a little bit more gentle. And that's okay because it still works. You have black tourmaline in quartz or tourmalinated quartz. This is where you have clear or white quartz with black tourmaline needles or rods growing through it. Super cool. The quartz amplifies and clarifies and the tourmaline grounds. This is for people who are very up in their head or overly spiritual and need grounding without feeling heavy. It's kind of like the visual representation of you can be spiritual and grounded. You can be expanded and embodied. The light and the root can coexist. Black tourmaline also comes in wands or points. They're long, thin, striated, and pointed. They're very highly directional. This is for energy work, for directing energy downward and outward, for an intentional discharge. Sometimes you don't need general grounding. You need precise grounding. Black tourmaline can also come on a matrix. It's still attached to the host rock that it grew from. It is often seen with mica or quartz or other minerals. This is what we would consider the fullest expression of foundation. You see the root system. You see how it's anchored. You see that it didn't form in isolation. It formed in a relationship with the earth and other minerals. This type of form reminds you that you are not separate from your foundation. You grew from it. Your roots are still connected. Black tourmaline is often seen in jewelry, such as pendants, bracelets. It's worn on the body. The idea behind the jewelry is that you have continuous grounding, energetic support throughout the day. Many empaths, healthcare workers, and people who work in intense environments tend to find this to be a helpful way of using the stone. But here is something that I want you to be aware of. Some people wear black tourmaline jewelry and report feeling heavy or drained. And this is my theory on why. If you're wearing the stone constantly, but you're never intentionally discharging that energy, and you're never intentionally touching earth, you're never doing any grounding practices, you're never completing the energetic circuit, it's like wearing a tool without even knowing how to use it properly. So your experience with black tourmaline may be different, and that's okay. Just pay attention to how your body responds. The form doesn't matter as much as your relationship to it. Black tourmaline doesn't care which version you choose. It just keeps doing what it does, right? It's just there. It's just simple. It's conducting, it's grounding, it's holding space. It really wants you to choose its form that you feel would be best for you and what your needs are. And this stone is, I would say, just kind of like the foundation you're building in your own life. So if you want to amplify or direct black tourmaline's energy, here are some combinations that practitioners commonly work with. These come from traditional crystal healing practices and my personal experimentation. You can pair black tourmaline with selenite. Selenite is known for cleansing and clearing, black tourmaline for grounding and discharging. So many practitioners use this combination when doing heavy emotional processing or working with people all day. You can pair black tourmaline with a clear quartz. The clear quartz is, of course, the master amplifier. The idea here is that quartz amplifies your intention while black tourmaline directs where that energy goes. So people use this when they're working with specific patterns or energies that they're trying to release. Black tourmaline also works well with labradorite. In a lot of traditional crystal healing, labradorite, blah, 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 is associated with strengthening boundaries and discernment. And when it's paired with black tourmaline, Black tourmaline's like grounding properties, this combination is popular with empaths and highly sensitive people. Black tourmaline can also be combined with smoky quartz. Both stones are considered like associated with transmutation, shadow work. Smoky quartz is said to help you face what you've been avoiding, while black tourmaline keeps you anchored in your body while you're doing that. And this is a common pairing for deep inner work. Black tourmaline can also be paired with hematite. They are both iron rich and magnetic. Many people reach for this combination during panic attacks, dissociation, or after intense spiritual practices when they need to come back to earth quickly. Black tourmaline can also be paired with rose quartz, which is a heart opening, but with boundaries intact. Rose quartz opens the heart. Black tourmaline kind of maintains your grounding so you don't lose yourself in the relationship. For people learning to love themselves without collapsing into this people-pleasing cycle. A very powerful combination is black tourmaline with black obsidian. Black obsidian is often described as a mirror stone. It's often used in scrying, which I've talked about extensively in my scrying episode. Black obsidian, it shows you your shadow, and sometimes that can be very intense. Black tourmaline provides the grounding support to process what you see without shutting down or running away. And these pairings are not rules. They're starting points. Pay attention to what your body and your energy responds to. Okay, so I also have a ritual that you could try with this stone. Based on a metaphor that I used earlier in this episode, I want to call this ritual the lightning rod practice. And I think that doing this ritual is a really good way that actually helps create change. So first we have the reframe with this stone. Instead of asking it to protect you, you want to try asking it to help you discharge what's not yours and ground you into what is. So this is based on that piezoelectric property that we talked about earlier. The idea that the stone conducts energy rather than just blocking it, whether that's literally what's happening or whether it's a useful framework for your intention. You can just try it and see what happens. So here's the ritual. You'll need your black tourmaline, any form. Raw is probably ideal, but whatever you have is fine. You need 5 to 10 minutes and some bare feet if possible. So the first step, you want to get grounded physically. So sit or stand with bare feet on the earth or floor. Hold your black tourmaline in your non-dominant hand, which is considered your receiving hand. You want to do a body scan. Where are you holding tension? Where are you holding anxiety or fear or other people's energy? And notice that without judgment, just observe. Step 3, name what's not yours. So out loud or silently, say something along the lines of, this anxiety is about blank and it's not mine to carry. This fear of blank is not serving me. This energy from blank is not mine. So whatever it is, whatever is not yours, just kind of be specific and name it. I personally think saying it out loud is very powerful rather than just saying it in your mind. But if you're in a place where it would be weird for you to say it out loud, I get it. And you need to really be specific about what it is that you're trying to release. Step 4 is called like the discharge. So visualize that tension, that energy, that pressure moving from your body down your arm and into the black tourmaline. Watch it travel through those vertical striations, like the water kind of flowing through the roots, and feel it discharge into the earth. You're not pushing it away. You're letting it conduct through you, through the stone, into the ground, and that's kind of like a complete circuit. Step 5 is the remembering. So ask yourself, what do I already know? What foundation do I already have? What am I capable of that I've forgotten? Because oftentimes we are capable of so much more than we even remember or realize. And you want to let the black tourmaline ground you into your own competence, your own wisdom, and your own rootedness. Step 6 is the closing. So place the black tourmaline on the earth or floor for a few minutes. You want to thank it for conducting away what was never yours to begin with. Thank yourself for coming back to your body. You can use this practice when you're in transition, when you're overwhelmed, when you catch yourself seeking protection instead of presence. This is what I would consider active grounding. Now, we're going into the deep end, and this is a very long episode. I'm sorry. This is going to challenge some common beliefs in the crystal community. And I want you to know this is coming from my personal observation and practice. Here's what I've noticed about black tourmaline. If black tourmaline stops working for you, it might not be because the stone failed. It might be because you're avoiding something. So here's my theory. Black tourmaline grounds you enough to face your shadows, and sometimes that's the last thing that we want. And here are some signs that I've observed that might indicate spiritual bypassing with black tourmaline. What is spiritual bypassing? It's basically when we use spiritual ideas or practices to avoid dealing with difficult emotions or trauma or anything along those lines. We just overuse our spiritual practices. So, signs of spiritual bypassing could be carrying it everywhere, but still feeling completely unsafe. You could be buying more and more pieces, thinking more protection, more safety. You might be blaming external energy for internal states. You could be using I need protection as a way to avoid doing the deeper inner work. So here's the uncomfortable truth as I see it. Black tourmaline will only ground you as deeply as you're willing to go. If you're not willing to face what's in the basement of your psyche, no stone can take you there. But if you are willing, in my experience, black tourmaline will hold your hand all the way down. It will keep you embodied while you meet your demons. It will provide grounding support so you don't get completely overwhelmed. It will remind you that you're safe enough to look. And here's the other thing that I've observed. Black tourmaline doesn't just help discharge other people's energy. It can also bring you face to face with your own destiny, your own fear, your own unprocessed patterns. It's not just a shield. Sometimes it functions as a mirror for everything that you've been avoiding. And maybe that's why some people report feeling uncomfortable around black tourmaline, not because the stone is too heavy or too intense, but because it's showing them something they're not ready to see yet. Again, this is my interpretation. Your relationship with black tourmaline might look completely different, and that's valid too. I really do believe that whatever these stones, whatever intention we put on these stones, that's what they're there for. I just like to give some alternative ways to look at it, based not only on the spirituality of it, but the science of it as well. So in traditional astrological correspondences, black tourmaline is associated with Saturn and sometimes Pluto. Saturn represents structure, boundaries, discipline, time, whereas Pluto represents transformation through facing the underworld, shadow work, death and rebirth, going into the depths and emerging unchanged. So both planets in astrological symbolism basically are about going deep and staying there. Elementally, black tourmaline is obviously earth, because of its piezoelectric properties, that electrical charge that it generates. We can also think of it as carrying fire or electrical energy. In the chakra system, it's a root chakra stone, clearly, but many practitioners also work with it as a grounding cord for all the chakras. And it's a reminder that you're here in a body on earth. So here's what I want you to take away from this episode. Black tourmaline is not your bodyguard. In my practice, I use it as a grounding wire, not something keeping you safe from the world, but something helping you discharge what the world put in you that was really never yours to carry. It looks like wood. It looks like roots, like petrified lightning, because geologically, that's kind of what it really is. It's ancient, it's foundational, it's formed under pressure, the base that other minerals literally grow from. So other crystals might lift you up, open you up, expand you. Black tourmaline, it brings you home, back to your body, back to the earth, back to the remembering that you were never unsafe. You were just unanchored. Black tourmaline was historically considered common, abundant, and not particularly valuable to miners. It was considered the stuff in the way when people were looking for something shinier. Black tourmaline doesn't need you to think it's special. It just keeps conducting. It keeps doing its thing. It just keeps grounding. It just keeps being the root system. And honestly, maybe we could all learn something from that. So the next time you reach for black tourmaline, try this. Don't ask it to protect you. Ask it to ground you so deeply that you remember you are the foundation. You are the root. You are always safe. And then build whatever you want out of that foundation. Anyway, this is the longest Crystal Library episode that I've ever done. So thank you for bearing with me, but I thought this was a very, very important episode for a very important stone. So thank you for listening to Big Crystal Energy. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And until next time, stay grounded, stay present, stay powerful. Bye.
Thank you for visiting the Crystal Library. I hope today's stone offered just the magic you needed. If you loved this episode, share it with your favorite mystic and tag me on Instagram at mystical.mama.ash or at Big Crystal Energy Podcast. And if you're feeling generous, leave a 5-star rating and review. It helps this magic reach more curious souls. Until next time, keep your crystals close and your intuition closer.